Last Friday, some fuckface killed 8 people and injured several others in Munich. And to make sure this won't happen again, some German politicians want to ban Counter-Strike. Yeah, you heard right, video games are to blame. And I thought this debate was finally over. Germany, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Federal Minister of the Interior. His continuing mission to exclude real reasons, to seek out new lies and new misinformation, to boldly go where the discourse has been before. But on a more serious note, my deepest condolences to all who lost a loved one in this horrific and unnecessary shooting. The guy went on a campaign of revenge because he felt left behind and treated unfairly by society. He claimed to have been the victim of mobbing and has been in psychiatric care due to an anxiety disorder. He studied school shootings that took place in the past, as well as the mass murderer Anders Behring Breivik. According to the police, he was obsessed with Breivik and had pictures of him in his room. The massacre took place on the 5th anniversary of the horrific terror attack committed by Breivik. The murderer from Munich was able to obtain a reactivated theater pistol and 300 rounds of ammunition through the internet. I guess it's fairly obvious what happened here. But once again, politicians, above all the German Minister of the Interior, wants to ban video games, because the Munich shooter played Counter-Strike and other video games, like almost every 18-year-old boy. In their opinion, video games, especially shooters like Counter-Strike and Call of Duty, cause violent behavior. Usually these voices come from glorious parties like the Christian Social Union or the Christian Democratic Union. But in the past, even German media distributed complete bullshit. Like, it is possible to completely mutilate dead bodies in Grand Theft Auto. It is possible to practice your aim for real-life weapons with games like Doom. To rape in Grand Theft Auto or modding would be illegal, and the League of Legends developers sent harassing emails to their customers. Complete bullshit. Often German politicians have demanded to ban games that have already been banned, like Return to Castle Wolfenstein or Manhunt. Some even want to criminalize the sale and possession of ego shooters altogether. In most cases, these people are over the age of 50 and have never played one of these games in their life. And therefore, they have absolutely no idea what they are talking about. In many cases, these are politicians who are looking for an easy target to blame, because real solutions would take effort. Let's take the Munich shooting and check for reasons that led to 8 people being killed. So the attacker claimed to have been a constant victim of mobbing. He has been in psychiatric care for anxiety disorder, he was able to get a gun and 300 rounds of ammunition, which is usually hard for an 18-year-old in Germany, and he played Counter-Strike. We can see the obvious reasons how this could happen, right? Of course, it's the video games. Or how they are called here in Germany, killer games. I think we can all agree that blaming it all on video games is simply laziness or outright ignorance. They are too lazy to address the real problems. So let us move away from the recent shooting and look at the reasoning and the logic, or lack thereof, of the people who demand to censor or outright ban violent games. Let's go and ask a junkie if he had cigarettes before he resorted to crack. And the answer will most likely be yes. Does that mean all who smoke cigarettes are in danger of becoming crack addicts? No, of course not. So why would this logic apply to video game consumers? These people run towards you with studies claiming to have found the correlation of video games and real-life violence. But for every study claiming to have found a correlation, there's one that contradicts it. And it's also always interesting to see who ordered these studies. Studies can be tweaked around until you have the results you wanted. Like we learned from John Oliver, you can mess around with data until you find a connection between consumption of tomatoes and being Jewish.
And to get those results, there are all sorts of ways that, consciously or not, you can tweak your study. You could alter how long it lasts, or make your random sample too small to be reliable, or engage in something that scientists call p-hacking. That's p-hacking with a hyphen, not to be confused with facking, which, as I think everyone knows, is a euphemism for f***ing the Philly fanatic. Now, p-hacking is very complicated. But it basically means collecting lots of variables and then playing with your data until you find something that counts as statistically significant but is probably meaningless. For example, the website 538 surveyed 54 people and collected over 1,000 variables, and through p-hacking the results, was able to find statistically significant correlations between eating cabbage and having an innie belly button, drinking iced tea and believing Crash didn't deserve to win Best Picture, and eating raw tomatoes and Judaism.
So many of these claims can be dismissed because they don't hold up to scrutiny. Crysis 2 was once nominated for the German Video Game Award, which is being financed by the German government to some extent. And only usual suspects from the conservative parties were screaming, "It is a scandal that violent video games are getting an award!" Okay, let's give in to their demands for a second. And never give an award to a violent video game again. Let's ban them too. For everyone, even for adults. But then, we need to ban violent movies as well. Because every decent action movie is more brutal than Counter-Strike. And while we are at it, we need to ban crime films as well. They are mostly all about murder, so no CSI anymore. And we should not only ban all the seasons of Game of Thrones, we should also ban the books. Brutality is described in great detail there. I mean, if we go on with this logic of banning violent things, we could end up banning everything. Should we ban the news because they are too violent? People are always afraid of the new media they don't understand. My grandfather was ranting about beat music and how it destroys the moral fabric of my father's generation. The perception of what is acceptable and what is not will change. And people will get used to the new media. In 1992, Mario Kart got censored because of alcohol consumption. Today we would find that laughable. Today we find the brutality in Counter-Strike mild. In the early 2000 years, we considered that extreme. Well, some prude folks even today. Even though back in the 90s, movies were way more brutal and realistic than every PC and console game, nobody thought of banning them. So to summarize this whole debate, stop using video games as the pawn sacrifice and face real solutions. Get crazy people proper healthcare, keep kids and mental patients away from weapons, and politicians, keep your hands away from art. And yes, video games are an art form. Some more, some less. And blaming all these types of shootings on video games is just lazy and dishonest towards the parents and families who lost a loved one. I will end this video with a piece from a stream Sargon of Akkad did with Professor Christina Hoff Sommers. But before I roll the clip, I want to ask you, do you have similar idiocracy where you are from? What do you think about the constantly reoccurring debate about killer games? Share your opinion in the comment section down below. So see you guys next time. Till then, stay safe, have a nice day, and guten Tag.
I mean, people tried for years to show any kind of new media, if it's, you know, comic books or television and motion pictures. We're supposed to create madness, you know. Yeah. So people are always frightened, and I think video games bears now a lot of the burden of fear of it. But it's been around a while now. Maybe people should start relaxing, and I think the American Psychological Association is just, there was a paper where the authors just argued, enough, stop, we're going in circles trying to prove the corrosive effect on the mind of the young from video games, leave it alone. And just as now many people have found that they have a positive effect. I found they had a positive effect on my children. I said to my son, well, you never played Grand Theft Auto. He said, yes, I did, the whole summer before 12th grade. I didn't know he was playing that, but it didn't. He's the sweetest boy in the world, and so are his friends. So, anyway.
Yeah, I'm very much of the opinion that a person's parents influences them far more than the video games they play. So, you know, a person might well play violent video games, but I genuinely think that having half decent parents is way more important.
Just after I finished cutting this video, I read the headline that the German TV station Pro7 Max will stop showing Major League CSGO matches due to the recent shooting. They've just started this a few months ago. Pretty much a blowback for gaming culture here. Well, fuck it, I guess I have to resort to Twitch again.